Hello Twitchies and welcome to a new tier list, guys. This tier list is going to be as best as I can accurate of the upcoming patch. There wasn't anything too super crazy in it. You know, there was a little bit of Geb buffs and there was the new item that might make Sir Cap Mercury better. But on the whole, it was nothing too crazy. And so we're going to try to do this tier list for the upcoming patch. You know, it'll basically be effective for now and that patch. Because there's nothing too major, just those slight changes with a couple gods that might move up or down, basically A tier. So let's get into this, and let's start it off. We've got our very first god, Agni. I think the last time we had Agni, it was the first time that we ever had put him in actually not A tier. He's basically the SMITE pinnacle god of, like, balance. And he kind of, not always has been, because he used to actually be broken back in the day when there wasn't that many gods. It was like, if you got Agni, you better have Poseidon to counter him. But not anymore. Agni is definitely fine right now. He is not super strong, but he's not weak at all. He's very much so an A tier. You can play him pretty much, and you're going to be okay. You got to be careful with this clear, especially with how junglers are moving around now. A lot of the times you want to get his dash first, and that's okay. But you can't dash through the wave aggressively right when you see the wave like you used to, because the jungler's going to be there early now. And so you want to dash through the wave towards your own wave when you're clearing with him. AMC, the bee himself. AMC still suffers from the same problems that AMC has always suffered from. Those problems being, of course, no mobility, and we're in a very mobile meta. We have for quite a while now. He does have good clear, which makes his laning phase not terrible, but he has so many gods that he can't actually queue into. Thor utterly destroys him, you know, Rat utterly destroys him, Susano destroys him. To be fair, all the junglers are super strong right now, but AMC down here in the B tier, basically where he has, for the most part, always been. He doesn't really leave this place too often. Apwash. So Apwash is a god, they actually mentioned it a little bit in the last patch notes, that the way his kit works, he actually has a hard time in Conquest for quite a bit, actually. But he can be very strong in other game modes. Is one funny thing about him. So, like, if you're playing him in, like, Arena or Clash and stuff, he's actually a better god than he is in Conquest. But if they buff him too much in Conquest, then he becomes unbearable in the other game modes. He kind of breaks the other game modes with this kit, with the big AoE, and you can't really get out of it, especially back when it slowed and stuff. Because of that, he basically got nerfed to a point where he was below average, so that way he was more acceptable in the other game modes and kind of didn't ruin them. It is the one problem, it doesn't happen very often, but that is the one problem with having multiple game modes, is that sometimes a god will be bad in one but great in another, and so you can't balance for all the game modes. And so this is a pretty acute example of a god that they're not balancing for Conquest, and he's actually going to be right here about this B+ tier. He just is not great. He's not the worst. People, you know, you underestimate it when you don't go against Apwash for a while, and then at level 4 he hits you with his 1-2-3 combo, or his 1-3-2 combo, that is. But there's so many better mages right now, there's no reason to play. Anhur. Anhur is a strong ADC. I actually did not rank him in my top 5 ADCs right now for just this current meta. That was more towards the Huyis and the Ramas and the stuff like that. But the one thing that he does have going for them is the fact that Anhur can play mid as well, fairly viably. Not quite as good as, say, Neith can play middle in ADC, which is why she'll be even higher, honestly. But Anher is actually in a pretty good spot. There's not really any gods in the game that are pretty much like this SS tier. S plus a couple, but nothing too crazy. Anher's fine. He's basically around like the A plus A tier. I would put him probably upper echelon A or lower A plus. You know, if there was a variant in between them. But he's going to be a pretty decent ADC. I mean, all the ADCs now are pretty decent except for like AMC, Artemis. You know, the ones that don't have the ones that don't have either clear or a getaway skill end up in a really weird spot, and that's why they get lower rank. But like Anher can clear the wave. He can play aggressive. He's a great pairing with Sobek. He's one of the best. He's pretty much the best god you can pair with Sobek in terms of just if you want the straight aggressive lane, that's going to be the most aggressive lane that you can get in Smite is that Sobek Anher lane. Amaterasu. So this god is interesting. She's actually gotten a lot better since there were some changes to how the pot system works. So with red pots, she actually had a pretty hard time. But without red pots in the game, it's not nearly as much of a difference between where her clear is and where the enemy's clear is. You don't lose as many creeps to the wave, which means you're not getting as far behind early as you used to be. And out of all of the gods in solo lane right now, her presence is arguably the best out of the solo lane in a team fight situation. This is probably the first one that might surprise people, but she's actually an S tier. She is going to be one of your prime solo laners, especially at the start of the split when it comes out. And we're going to see the solo laners, you know, they're not going to probably be getting, you know, the kills in the lane, right? Because they're going to lose lane to Robin, and they're going to be down, you know, give or take 300 gold. But when they come into the team fight and you have the AMA ulting in the back line and all the disruption she's bringing, it's going to be disgusting. Not to mention, of course, Hog is a little bit back in the meta right now. Pretty much teams are running one Hog for objective secure since they buffed it to 1250. AMA passive increases the amount of Hog damage that you do. So your Hog will actually do closer to about 1400 damage if you have an AMA attacking the objective, which is, you know, even more secure. So look at that. Poor Goobus. You know, they've tapped Goobus here and there. You know, they give him a little tap to the left, they give him a little tap to the right, and they're like, is he good now? They're like, maybe we just make his, you know, his ultimate a little bit thicker, and then maybe if we just give him a cooler skin. But like, he's just a fun god to play. Everybody likes playing Anubis, but he's just not actually good at the game. He's down here in this B tier. He's not. I'd way rather have an Opwash my team than Anubis. He just has the nobility factor is really big. At least Posh has the capability to pick up his corpses, you know, try to get some health back, to try to stay alive. To be fair, Anubis has the lifesteal option, but your ultimate you have to stand still for, which is the biggest deterrent. Any god that has an ultimate you have to stand still for a prolonged period of time, it's not what you want, right? Like, so like if you think Ra, who's not the best mid god right now, like he stands still for a decent bit, but like only 20% as long as Anubis stands there and uses his ultimate. So Ao Kuang. So Ao Kuang, I think is going to be a god that I have a little bit of a different opinion on in terms of play. So I want to just, you know, make it clear that this tier list for me, which of course we might shift around people as we go through the list, kind of as we play through, and we're like, okay, this god is S tier, well then, okay, well this god's not as good as this god, they're actually A+. You know, we always do a little bit of shifting at the end. This tier list is going to be, in my opinion, basically on straight competitive. From what I've gotten from scrims so far, from what I've got from watching other scrims, from what I've got from, you know, the relegations, that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily based off of ranked play. It's a little bit factored in, but I'm trying to not heavily base it off of ranked. So what I will say is, if this was a ranked tier list, I would put him in S tier. But I am not doing this as a ranked tier list. I'm trying to do this as more of a competitive tier list, and that means he's actually an A+. He is much, much stronger in ranked than, I mean, I say much stronger, a tier, but he is quite a bit stronger in ranked than he is in competitive play. It's a lot easier to deal with Quang when you know, when you can play aggressive on him a little bit early, when you don't let him get so big, because Ao Quang's in ranked, and especially casuals are going to get huge so fast, and then once Ao Quang gets to late game, he's incredibly strong, right? But Ao Quang's early game is not strong. It's not strong. So if you abuse the fact that he has no early game, you don't really let him get to the late game stages, he becomes way less of a problem. He's just a better version of Kali, basically. His early game is not as bad as Kali, and his late game is basically just as good. So he's basically better Kali, which I'm sure is going to be a whole thing. Kali's a whole nother problem because everybody's like, Kali OP. Kali ain't OP. She's not OP. Aphrodite. So, Aphrodite, for the first time in, gosh, a while, has come back into the meta. Actually, I'm not saying she's, wrecking the meta. But we actually saw Aphrodite have a very successful play by arguably the best Aphrodite player in the world, Kiki. So cheeky, extra cheeky. Kiki on fleeky. Kiki Bobiki. Anyway, actually a pretty strong god right now. Early game is not terrible. Her clear is pretty good. It's kind of a transition period that she struggles with right now. Right around level 12 is when, enemy starts getting weakening curses. They finish their pestilences. That's kind of the time where you can really abuse the Aphrodite. As she has her ultimate and she'll have Aegis and stuff, but if you get those weakening curses off, and if you focus and you have pestilence, you have a Brawler's Beast. Like, if you're focusing your builds, you can do very well, but if she makes it too late stage, especially if she has somebody on her team to link with, especially, Mercury, Kali, Quang, there's a lot of gods that pair very, very well with any ADC in the game. And she's actually going to be an A tier. She's actually in a great spot right now. We're going to see play from her in the SPL, specifically in the mid lane. You won't see her in the solo lane. You'll get invaded too much at level 1. You lose your blue buff. After without the blue buff in the solo lane is going to be not good. You're not going to want to deal with that. But she's going to do quite well, actually, in the mid lane for herself. She's not going to get picked up more than Ryzen and stuff. But she's going to do just fine in the mid lane. Apollo! Here's another god that's actually taken a bit of a turn. Apollo is not one of the best ADCs for the first time in I don't know how long. I'd say he's not a top 4 ADC. I mean, you could probably argue for 5, but it's so beautiful. Do you see what I did there? Do you see what I did there? It's amazing. He actually is fine. Apollo is fine for the first time in literally possibly SMITE's history. Which is hilarious because if you look at Apollo's kit, his kit is borked, okay? His kit is so bloated. It's disgusting, okay? 100% attack speed passive. So beautiful, which does 300 damage base, okay? Less damage when it goes through people. His mez gives him protection. It's also a mez. His dash gives movement speed. And it's a slow. And his ultimate is a global that takes no mana and does a ton of damage. And yet, he's not the best ADCs right now, which is awesome. His clear is not nearly as potent as it used to be. Obviously, when we had Golden Bow, Apollo was SS tier. It was impossible to deal with Apollo. If they got him in lane, that meant the laning phase was over, and you were going to lose the laning phase. But now, without Golden Bow, with the buffs to other hunters and some of the other items that are coming into the meta, particularly think of things like Rom getting a buff kind of out of nowhere. So he's extremely strong right now, but Apollo's in a good spot. Although, I would say Apollo and Anher are in a pretty similar spot, honestly, as far as ADCs go. So I'm going to move Anher down to A for now. We'll see how the rest of the list goes, but I would say they're right around that same spot. They're different at what they do, but they're right around that same tier. They're right around that same tier. Arachne. So we got Arachne here. Poor Arachne. I mean, she's gotten some changes. Her change to her web a patch or two ago was actually pretty decent. It was a bad change for her web in terms of aggression, but it was a good change in terms of running away. So what her web does now is you basically throw out the web, and even if you don't hit anything, it still gives you a little bit of web room, which means that you can use it to run away, as well as, if it's on a short path, it'll also slow behind you so the enemy has a harder time getting to you. But you can't, put it in between minions anymore to, hit the person that you're trying to hit. So if they're hiding behind minions, kind of thing, it will smash into them. So she does have a bit harder time. She could use a little tap. B plus tier is basically they could use a little tap on the hiney to get a little bit better. But you can't tap them too hard because then they move up too much. I'm not exactly sure what she needs, honestly, in order to make her more viable. But she has the strong start. You can put down the 2 webs. She doesn't necessarily need to go hog because you have the double Spidey start. So that is one advantage to her. Or if you do go hog, you have the double Spideys for your speed buff, and then you can go hog the blue buff, which is also nice. But just not as strong as the other junglers, which I think is the big thing. A lot of this is comparative to the other gods in your tier, right? So it's you're not really comparing Arachne and Alpoish as much as within their respective roles, they're kind of in the same spot. And so there's just a lot of strong junglers right now. As if you're playing Smite, I think Ares. Support Ares doesn't have any clear, right? So the man's clear is just not good. He has damage. The builds right now are okay for him. You're going to see a lot of people go one of 2 builds, either grabbing Talaria boots into Urchin, and then you get Sov Heartward, or you go Adventurer's Blade into Urchin into Sov Heartward. Basically, those the 2 variant builds. You can finish that into a Wing Blade if you need it, but Ares doesn't really... He does better on the Talaria boots build. He can land chains to multiple people, get the gold, uses Flame Wave, etc. Terra coming into the mix does, bring down some other support. She's, this is going to be, we're rating her post-Terra change. We don't actually have a Terra picture here. We'll talk about her at the end. But, she did recently get buffed again, so she's going to be in a very nice spot. Ares is right around here in this B plus tier, though. I don't expect him almost at all in the North American scene. I would say Aurora always has Ares in his back pocket because he is one of the best Areses in the world. He's certainly a top Ares in North America. But Europe may pull him out. Europe likes him a little bit more. They've always kind of had a thing for that Ymir Ares gameplay. But I don't think Ymir or Ares are particularly strong right now. Kind of for the same reason of that they don't have any mobility. And we're in a very mobile meta right now. Think of kind of why Artemis is not out in the meta and kind of why AMC is not in the meta, although Artemis is also factors in clear, which is kind of like the Ares of support. So, speaking of Artemis. Artemis is better AMC. That's basically what it comes down to. So she's in B plus tier. So Artemis is a AMC. If AMC had a worse beginning game and start a better late game. So they recently gave Artemis a little tap and said, yo, her late game is great. Let's just make her late game even better. So they did. So they made her stats even better for late game. The problem is that she has absolutely no early game, right? None at all. She can try her hardest to go and just... All you do on Artemis is you survive. All you do is you survive until you get level 12. You've got 2 actives. You've got your ulti and stuff ready. You've got some skills ranked up. And then you can get into team fights, and your team fights are awesome. Your team fights are amazing. But for the most part, you're never going to make it to the team fight phase. I don't expect anybody to be pulling an Artemis except for maybe Panda Cat. Just because Panda Cat is so good at Artemis that maybe Panda could make it work. But that's the only person I can see bringing it out. Athena! So Athena is interesting because she is probably not quite as good as she has been in some of the little bit of previous metas. Not to say that she's not good anymore. She's just not quite as strong. I think we've had Athena in S tier for, gosh, months and months, maybe 4 or 5 tier lists in a row now. But for the first time, I think she's going to be brought down to A+. This is mainly due to some other supports kind of kicking it up a notch. Mainly, let's think about how strong Fafnir is, right? Fafnir just got nerfed a itty bit, but it's not going to affect him at all. Fafnir is going to be just dandy. Geb actually just got a little bit of a buff, which is going to move him up quite a bit. Terra being introduced, I think she's gonna really thrive. Now she got buffed. I think she's gonna thrive in a team fight scenario with a good team built around her. So while strong, she's not bringing some of the stuff that the other supports are bringing right now. She does have everything. You know, she's still a super safe pick. That's the one thing I think I want to say about Athena is don't ever be like afraid of playing Athena, because she's got the dash, which you can use to initiate or get out. She's got the taunt, which you can use to peel or initiate. She's got good damage with her shield wall that you can use. That's good jungle clear and it's good creep clear. Her passive is also amazing lane clear, and she also has the ultimate, so you're never really out of position because you can always ulti to where you need to be. So I think you should just be aware of how safe she is. She's also one of the supports that I'd probably recommend learning first, probably just because of how it's not easy. It's just how, if you make a mistake, it's not nearly as severe with Athena as it is with some of the other supports. Awilix is dandy. Awilix is one of those gods where you play against her and you go, I am so glad this is not Thor. Or you're like, I am so glad they don't have Susano on their team. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody's picking Awilix, you're probably pretty happy with your life. It's just that comparatively to right now to the other junglers, especially just with how big the jungler god pool is right now. I mean, there's probably 10 viable junglers right now, at least. In multiple roles. I mean, you could play Athena jungle, you have a Willox jungle, you have Erlich Shen jungle, you have so many different, all these different types of people you can run to the jungle. So, she is fine. Skill-based, you have to hit your 3, hit your ultimate, unless you have somebody else hitting knockups for you, or somebody trying to jump away. But yeah, so Bacchus. Baki. So Bacchus is quite good right now. I would say for the most part, Bacchus has been basically A tier for quite a while. But for the first time, I think in a bit, he has found himself an improvement. We've been in for the entirety of Season 3 now, a bit more of a burst meta. Season 2 ended and it kind of escaped away from the tank meta, and it went back towards a little bit of not Season 1-ish, but a little bit more of a burst meta, which has made Bacchus quite a bit more relevant because he has the good initiation, he has the mobility, and he has the burst damage with his ultimate. The flop plus ultimate combo is going to hit a squishy, for 500 damage. That's great to help out your team at the start of a fight, especially if you can flop 2 squishies. Your ultimate hits those 2 squishies plus their tank. You bring a lot to the table. You're very, very tanky because of your passive and your drinking capability, so he's going to be up there in that A+ range. He's doing very good right now. I would say that Bacchus actually will probably get picked more than Athena this upcoming split, just because he also has the built-in healing reduction. Even though it's only a little, it's nice. His initiation is very quick and it's very effective. Instead of a dash taunt, you're using 2 abilities. It's simply flop, and that's it. You did it. And it's also a knock-up, which means they can't beat it compared to you can beat a taunt. Now, you can obviously go back and taunt over and over again, but the point being, knockups are the best CC in the game because you have to preemptively beat them or you basically get hit by it no matter what. Bakasura. If we were rating Baka off of my Bakasura support game, let me tell ya, Bakasura would be SS tier. Broken. But people don't play Bakasura support. He's in a spot right now where he has no home. You can't really solo Baka. Too much clear. No golden bow. Nothing he can do over there. In the jungle, sure, you could jungle Bakasura, but you can't gank on Bakasura until you have too many items done, until you have too many levels, until you have too much attack speed. And so he's actually probably one of the... He could be one of the worst gods in the game right now, honestly. Just in terms of what he's bringing to the table, because he can't play any role. So he's probably actually better in other game modes than he is in Conquest, but Conquest he has no home. He reminds me of Chang'e, where Chang'e doesn't really have a home in Conquest, right? He doesn't have a home in Conquest. So he can't solo lane at all, right? Because you're just going to get destroyed by a Robin or whatever. He can't jungle because we talked about earlier. He doesn't have any ganking capability. He has no way to kill you when he ganks you other than if he ults you and you stay in the ult. So if he ults you just beats and you jump out and you're like, okay, that was it. You have to wait 90 seconds to gank me again. So just not good, man. Not good. Not good. Don't play him. Don't play him. He's like Anubis. Don't play Anubis. Don't play Anubis. Don't do it. Play AMC. He's so much fun. Don't play AMC in my games. But you hit somebody with a stinger, and it's the best feeling. You're like, I'm the greatest. That is a tiny skill shot, and you are dead, and I got my stinger back, and I'm going to stinger you again. Don't play AMC in my games. Bastet. Bastet. So Bastet is the kitty. We've seen a little bit of play with her this season, mainly towards split pushing. I think Enemy ran her 3-4 times, give or take. Her big claim to fame right now is basically her capability to split push. That's all she's doing, which is better than not doing anything. It's just kind of where she's falling right now, in that B+ range of just gods that you're almost never going to run unless you're actually Enemy. Which is funny because Enemy runs Arachne, Artemis, and Bastet. Now, to be fair, Artemis was broken at the time. She was like S tier, but they actually run a lot of those lower tier gods because they have strats built around them because their players like to play around them, which is actually really unique and cool, actually, to play with and against. So, Bologna. Who would have thunk that Bologna is actually good still? Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Bologna is a good guy? What? Who would have thought that? She's actually not as strong as she used to be. For those that have played SMITE, you know that Bologna used to be absolutely ridiculous, especially if you're talking about release Bologna. She was the most broken god ever released into SMITE. Period. I mean, some people are going to argue for like Guan Yu, Fenrir, but Bologna was the most OP god in SMITE. She was the only god ever released that could 1v5 at level 1. The only god. So finally they've gotten her into a better place. She's up in this A+ tier. She's not going to be nearly picked as frequently as she previously was. Mainly because AMA is really strong right now. Robin's really strong right now, just like, some of these other gods. But she is still incredibly strong. The one thing about Bologna as well is she kind of reminds me of Athena, where she's just kind of good throughout all parts of the game. She's pretty safe. She has her hammer, which is great clearing the lane. It's also great damage. She has her ultimate, which gives you a lot of help in the team fight. Underestimated part of Bologna is the fact that she has... her ultimate gives stats to your team to help you fight in that circle range. Of course, people know it's the stun and the damage, but it also has that lasting effect around you. It's not so much that she's gotten particularly worse, as much as just other gods have gotten a little bit better. Kabrakin. For a while, he became like an S+ pick. He had a little moment where Vanguard getting buffed, plus Purple Pot, plus his damage buff, plus his passive affecting himself, kind of all swirled together and just created this monster of a god. That time has passed, and we're luckily no longer living in the Cabroken era, even though I love that god. And he's actually really fine right now. You could totally still play him. As far as jungling going, he's fine. As far as solo goes, he's fine. You're going to be able to play him in either role. Without the Purple Pot, he's definitely not as potent early as he used to be. But you can still build him to kind of go that one-shot build where you get the, the pen and then the Poly Soul Reaver, and you just 1-2 somebody and you just bop, bop, boof, boof, and they explode into a million pieces. It just takes you a little bit longer to get there because you don't have as strong as, the level 1 through 6 as you used to. Chalk. So Chalk is a god that I feel as though has for a while, okay? So for a while now has been one of the gods in Smite, okay? That people either go, wow, that's a good god. And people just are like, whatever you do, don't play Chalk in my match, right? It's just, there's so many strong opinions on Chalk. People are like, I win every game that I play with Chalk. And other people that are like, all you do is clear the lane and then you're useless by level 12. I personally have not seen strong showings from Chalk in the competitive scene, and that's what we're rating this on. So I'm putting Chalk at B+. Okay? This is a competitive base tier list, of course, like we mentioned, and Chalk has not done anything special. Grats, you won your lane and you ended up 150 gold ahead. What did you do with that 150 gold lead? You probably walked over to the team fight, threw down an axe, and then that's all you did. That's all you did. He's just not great. Now, you can get ahead with Chalk, great, and you can abuse it in lower levels, but in upper levels, I see Divi playing Chalk because Divi plays what Divi wants. And I see Zalia playing Chalk because Zalia's god pool hasn't changed in 3 seasons. Basically, is the way I see this going down. That's basically the way I see Chalk going down this season. Divi because Divi does Divi, and Zalia because he just plays Chalk. So, that's what I see. Moving on to Chang'e. Chang'e. So poor Chang'e is one of those gods, like Baka, just not as bad as Baka, but like Baka, she has Baka syndrome is what I'll call it, which sounds terrible. Can you imagine having Baka syndrome? Your stomach's like, "Argh." Anyway, not the point. You're just eating everything. You're just like, what's that, a small child? Oh, microphone? Oh. Ted Cruz? Anyway, Zodiac Killer. Wait, he was already, oh, never mind. Anyway, Chang'e. So, Chang'e has no home, like Baka. She can't really mid lane because she doesn't have the early damage pressure, especially without Purple Pot to get away there. In the solo lane, she can't really do anything as well because she'll get invaded. If in a competitive tier, she won't be able to make it through laning phase, especially without blue buff. And so you have to put her right down here. She is better than, that bottom echelon tier of people. AMC, Anubis, etc. But she's not, you're not gonna, I almost feel like we need to actually do this. We need to do this. We need to go here, 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 boom. This makes better sense now. There we go. So she is better than those, but I wouldn't, she's not like, she's like in between that kind of tier, actually. So we're gonna just move that tier list a little bit. Bada bing, bada boom. We've spread out our list a little bit. We've got a little bit more, wiggle room, okay? A little bit more wiggle room. While she's good in other places, Chang'e, when's the last time you saw a Chang'e in competitive? 2 in the last 6 months. So, it's just one of those guys. She just doesn't make it. She just doesn't cut it. Even though her ultimate is arguably the best ultimate in the game when used properly. Probably actually is the single best ability in Smite if you were to hit like 5 people with it. Chiron. So Chiron had quite a long showing. Where he was one of the top ADCs. His clear was strong. His heal was immensely strong. His ultimate was very strong. But he's been kind of nerfed and nerfed. And they just keep kind of nerfing him a little bit. They finally got him to a spot where he's good. And I would say he's kind of hovering around this B plus A tier. I'd put him in A tier. I would rather have a Chiron on my team than Artemis. He is going to have a better time with the game than Artemis is. Now, if Artemis gets to the late game, of course, she's going to destroy Chiron. But the point is, Chiron should be able to prevent her from getting there. He isn't a good spot. He just kind of isn't great, you know? He's basically a little bit better or a little bit worse than Anher, you know, within the same tier of a little bit worse, if that makes sense, but just a little bit worse than Anher. So we got Kronos. Kronos is coming back a little bit. He's coming back a little bit. He was really in the meta at one point, like one of the best guys in the game. And then he was really out of the meta for quite a while. And they've kind of brought him back to be in a good spot. If you go Kronos mid, you're going to be okay, but you might have some problems with early mid harpies. If you go Kronos ADC, you're going to be probably a little bit better off. But at the same time, Sol is just a better Kronos as far as ADCs go. But he is actually pretty dandy right now. Doing just swell. He's doing just swell. Moving on to Cupid. Cupid is not in a preferred meta right now. To be fair, Cupid has not been in a preferred meta for a while. They gave him a little bit of a buff. They were like, hey, your ultimate will now instant cast instead of having a delay on it. You know, it had a delay on it, and then they took it off, and now the delay on the auto attack is post using your ultimate, but it's nothing special. Cupid is not good. He's just not good. I mean, like, very not good. I say very not good, but, like, he's in this bottom echelon tier of gods that, like, I don't want on my team, right? If you're playing on my team, I want A and above. I want A and above. Anything down here, stick away. All right, so we got our first god I don't think anybody's going to argue about. Fafnir. So Fafnir saw a very tiny buff. By tiny buff, I mean tiny nerf in this last patch. The patch before that, he actually had a tiny buff. Fafnir had his pen shred on his 1 in dragon form reduced from scaling 20 to 40% to 20 flat percent at all ranks. It no longer increases as you rank up the skill. But it doesn't matter because that's not any of the problem with Fafnir. So Fafnir has a 1.5 second stun at level 1. He has the increased power and attack speed for your enemy ADs, or for your friendly ADC, friendly mage, whatever, jungler, yourself. It also heals you. No matter who you use it on, it heals yourself, not them, which is a misconception about Fafnir. It always heals you. Your 3 is a disarm for 2 seconds, also a jump. Plus, if you're in dragon form, it's also a stun that's a disarm. And your ultimate, of course, turns you into a dragon, which gives you a new skill set, which refreshes all your cooldowns. And, of course, it's an Aegis that you can use to avoid abilities, say, Poseidon Kraken. Your passive gives you a Watcher's Gift on top of your Watcher's Gift, so you're stacking Watcher's Gift, which means you're getting tankier than anybody else because you've got, 500 to 800 more gold than them for the most part. But you also are tankier because that gold you're getting is also giving you passive protections, which means that even without going to buy the items, you're getting tankier by being wealthier. So if that doesn't sound ridiculous, then you best go play something with even more ridiculous gods like Dota. FAFNIR. So we got Fen here. Wait, we also have FAFNIR over here. Why do we have FAFNIR twice? FAFNIR. Weird. Anyway, I guess we'll just rank him twice as we do this. FAFNIR is in a decent spot. He is not the most popular jungler right now because, not that he's bad, because that other junglers are amazing, which is kind of what the meta's been about for a while now. It's just that kind of dealio. So he's actually fine. He's right there in the A tier. He's doing good. But he's not, he's just not that extra tier. I would expect to see him a little bit in SPL, adapting, loves FAFNIR, right? He loves to pull it out, but there's no, why would he play FAFNIR when he can just play Thor? Because Thor's still in the meta. Like, adapting Thor, dude. Like, don't play anything else ever. Freya isn't trash anymore, dude. Freya isn't trash. She's not trash. Freya was so bad for so long. Like, actually, she was so bad for so long. Because she had been broken for so long. And so we're kind of moving back towards the Freya meta. And I'm a little bit iffy right now. I'm not 100% sure between the two tiers. But she is very close to around that A+ tier. I'm going to throw her an A+ for now. She's right kind of there. I want a little bit more experience with the Freya in the meta. But her late game is absurd, and it doesn't take her that long to get there. Her core item set right now, all that she really needs is that Pen Boots and Fatalis, and then you're pretty much Gucci. Everything after that is just like extra nice stuff, like, you know, Demonic Grip is great, attack speed, power, but like once she gets Boots Fatalis and she gets like that level 9, so she has her 2 ranked up or whatever, her clear is fine, her everything is fine. She's decently safe because of her ultimate being able to fly her out. She can woo people up. She's going to be, I think, not a pocket pick, but she's going to be one of these picks where you kind of forget Freya as an option, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're running 3 tanks, we got this, no problem. And then they pick Freya the tank killer, and you're like, you know what I'm saying? It's going to be one of those things where she comes up, people are going to go, shit. Geb. So Geb is going to be one of our hypothetical god ratings. Because we have not had any play with new Geb. I say new Geb, buffed Geb. It's not like it's a rekit. Geb has had his rollout damage base increased. Okay, so instead of Geb rolling out and it started at 50% damage and then it ended up at 100% damage, now it starts at 75% and ends at 100%. So if you had your 1 all the way ranked up, that's 400 damage, right? Now you're doing 75% of that, so you're doing 300 damage instead of 200 damage if you hit somebody immediately with the rollout, which is a decently big deal. But the bigger deal is that Geb Ultimate now, as of right now, it is at 4th tier, okay? 4 points in your Ultimate, it stuns for 1.6 seconds. But they're changing Geb Ult, so at level 1, it stuns for 1.6 seconds. And then it buffs up until 2 seconds max, compared to right now it goes to 1.8 seconds max. So it's 0.2 more overall, but it's 0.6 more of a stun at the start, which is, what, 40% increase on the stun duration or something crazy? 60%. It's on 1 and it was 0.6 more. 60%. That's just math. Anyway, we're trying to think of other stuff. He is going to be good, but it's hard to tell how good he's going to be. He will still need to get Blink as an active to initiate, which is always a negative. Having to get that, Blink for initiation, then you can't get a Teamfight active, or you can't get Hog for securing stuff. Okay? I'm going to throw him into A tier for now. I'm going to throw him into A tier. I've got a feeling he could go up towards this A+, once we get more practice with him and we see how it kind of works out. But as of right now, I think he's going to be a viable pick. Because he hasn't been viable, right? Nobody's playing Geb anymore. He's not really viable. His lane clear is not good enough. His rollout takes too long for him to get moving, to be mobile. So, right now, he can be an A tier, and we'll see kind of where we can coast him to. Guan Yu. Guan Yu's a strong god. Guan Yu is probably one of the better supports right now. He's in the top 5. He's certainly the best warrior support. He also has the pleasure of being able to play in the solo lane, which not many gods can do solo lane and support, basically in equal levels of effectiveness. For the most part, your Guan Yu is going to turn into a heal bot. You'll do a little bit of damage if you're a solo laner, right? You'll do a little bit of damage if you're a solo laner, but if you're a support, you're going to have a really hard time knocking out damage after that 10 to 15 minute mark. But he's definitely a plus tier. Very strong, very good pick in those 2 roles. I'm sure you could get away with him jungle, and I'm sure DJ Pernicus will play Guan Yu jungle this year because DJ Pernicus loves Guan Yu jungle. He'll go like Breastplate of Valor, first item, no Boombas, whatever. Whatever DJ is going to do. But very strong god. Definitely be picking him. Very, very strong. Just a team fight oriented god. Think AMA if AMA was just not as strong as AMA. Think Guan Yu. If Guan Yu, instead of healing every 4 seconds, had a passive heal like every 2 seconds, basically. Kind of the comparison. Hades. Ha 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 ha. Hades. Hades is not good. Hades is not good, friends. He has a hard time. He doesn't really have anywhere he can go. So Hades had a bit of a meta in solo lane for a while. Not really this season, but he had his time in solo lane. Hades has had his time in the mid lane before. Back when we were AFK Gaming, it used to be Hades and Aphrodite mid. But Hades right now does not have any sort of home. And I don't think you'll see him pretty much at all. The only person who might play Hades is Divios. Because Divios really likes Hades. And Divios can play whatever he wants because he's Divios. Okay? Okay? Wow. Hebo. So for Hebo, we've got ourselves a little bit of buffs coming in. A couple, they've been kind of trickling in for Hebo this season. Nothing enough to bring him to a level of competition where he's going to be a safe pick. But what he does have going for him is he could actually be a pocket pick. And these really safe pocket picks are I say safe pocket picks. These pocket picks are pretty much this B+ tier. It's that hidden layer of gods that you're not going to think about when you're playing. You don't think the enemy team's going to pick them. You don't really think that you need to ban them. They don't even really cross your mind. And that's kind of that B+ tier here for competitive. Could you pull them out as one of your last picks? Yes, you could. If their team comp and your team comp aligns for it, you could end up running a Hebo, but they have to have their jungler, right? They can't have FAFNIR. If they have FAFNIR, you just lost the game. FAFNIR brutalizes you on Hebo, and you die. And then you come back to lane, and he brutalizes you, and you die. And then you get your ultimate, so you think the ulti, except for he brutalized you, and then he rode the wave. Okay? And then you die. Don't do that. See FAFNIR right here? He'll follow your ass, and he'll brutalize. See, look at it. If you move Hebo, he just brutalizes all day. Okay? You can't get away. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay? Moving on to Hell. Everybody kind of thought at least most people thought that Hell was going to be extremely strong coming into this season. She had received quite a few buffs. Mainly her speed buff on her heal went from like scaling to flat at like top tier. I think it's 20% movement speed buff, maybe 25. It's like a lot. It's a lot of movement speed. And everybody was like, oh, maybe that'll bring her into the meta. And it has not brought her into the meta. She still gets killed too easily. Her base health is so low. Her laning phase is okay as far as a solo laner goes, assuming you have the blue buff. But like in a competitive game, if you pick Hell solo and they don't invade you, there's already a mistake being made. You know what I'm saying? And so she's not going to be able to get away with that nonsense. Middle lane, you could maybe get away with her. Like a little bit, but I don't expect to see her very much. Not nearly as much as Aphrodite. Aphrodite is a better version of Hell right now. If you're going to be playing a healer, you should be looking towards the Aphro, not the Hell. But it could be a pocket pick. They pick 5 gods. None of them have any anti-healing. You know, maybe their CC is low or something, and so you pick Hell because you feel like you're going to be able to safe make it to late game. They're going to have to invest in the weakening curses to counter you. They Odin's band, whatever the case may be. Hercules, baby, you mean Hercules. So my boy Herc over here, he's got games, man, games. Has actually recently got a little tap on his muscles. His biceps got just a little bit taller. Better than he has been. Not great, right? So for anybody that's been kind of playing Hercules, they increased his lane clear. They increased the damage on his 1 by 20. They increased the damage on his 1 by, I think, 20, which means that with Herc with Bluestone, you basically full clear the wave at level 2. Trying to get this math right. No, they increased the damage on his 2. They increased the damage on his 2, not on his 1. Which means that you get basically the full lane clear of Bluestone at level 2. So it's actually fairly effective, and your laning is pretty strong. Actually, as far as laning phase goes, he'll be up here in this A tier. But basically, he's kind of like Kabrakan, where why would you play Kabrakan Hercules when you could play Robin AMA? And if you can find the reason for it, whether it be in the team comp or against that specific god you're going against, you're going to be okay. But for the most part, you're just going to want to let him slide. Let him slide. Hou Yi. Get my boy up here. My boy Hou Yi is the best hunter in the game. Period. He is the best hunter. He has done it. There he is. So the reason why he's the best hunter is a couple things. One, he has the best jungle clear out of any god in the game at level 1. There is nobody in the game that outclears Hou Yi. Like, period. Out of any god in the game, Hou Yi has the best clear because of Ricochet. He can instantly clear back camp by himself. Move on to red buff. He can instantly clear boars because of the triple Ricochet, which means you're getting to lane extremely fast. In lane, his clear is very nice. You Ricochet, hit it once, off the wall, comes back, hits the archers, boom. Very strong in lane clear. Incredibly effective capabilities to kill a god. Built-in stun on a hunter kit. Has a knock-up on a hunter kit. Has a slow on a hunter kit. And he's immune to crits, for the most part. Partially immune to crits. Very, very strong. Everything about his kit is strong. If you need to learn a hunter, I wouldn't necessarily go right into Hou Yi. He is not the easiest hunter, okay? Ricochet does actually take quite a decent bit of skill to land consistently. Not just land, but consistently be hitting it. And so you want to be careful with that. You might want to try learning a new, an easier hunter before him. But yeah. Hunbat. Hunbat is a pretty good jungler right now, actually. Good for Hunbat. He's not... I would say Hunbat is probably one of the more underrepresented junglers right now. I would say he is probably the closest god right now on the verge of like really breaking through to being not a top pick, but a consistent SPL pick. I expect us to see him for quite a few games. And I will say that as the season goes on, I would say we're probably going to see Hunbat show up more and more and more. I'm going to throw him in this A tier. But I think that as people build compositions around him, and as they try to combine his CC and his movement capabilities, that we might see him rise up to that A+ tier. He won't go up to Ash or anything, but up to that A+ tier. I can very much see his rating change as the season develops and play styles develop and metas develop. Isis. As much as it pains my heart, okay? My heart is on the left side of my chest because this, I'm pretty sure this is where hearts are. I had a 50-50 shot. I'm pretty sure I'm poking my heart right now. As much as it pains this region of my body, unless my heart's over here, in which case this is hurting, but I'm pretty sure that pledge allegiance to the flag, it's over here. Where the hell is your heart? Anyway, doesn't matter. My heart is in my chest. Isis is not good. Isis is not good right now. Like really not good. She has the capability to do objectives and stuff, right? To do objectives and stuff with her ultimate, and you know, it's great to heal and awesome and cool beans. But she just doesn't win. And I'm not sure, honestly, what about her kit it is, guys. I'm not sure if it's the fact that she doesn't have a getaway skill, but that doesn't really make sense because Nu Wa's actually doing awesome right now. I don't know if it's the fact... I don't know. I don't really know, honestly, and I can't give a really great reason for why she's not. And maybe it's because I'm so attached to the god that I can't really think about it that much. But she's B+ tier. Like, I would not really play Isis this. Like, even if I was mid, I would not play Isis this season. Like, that's how much she's not good right now. She's having a hard time, honestly, even in laning phase. Purple Pot being taken out actually did hurt her decently. She had gotten the nerfs. Remember when Purple Pot was super strong, and then they nerfed Isis because her plus Purple Pot was too strong? But then they took away Purple Pot, so now she doesn't have it anymore, so now the nerfs were kind of pointless. So now that Wing Gust nerf was too much, right? It was good at the time, but now she needs it back because the Purple Pot got taken away, and so she got hurt a lot. I think that could be a big thing. But she's not having a very strong meta right now. Every time I've seen her played, she's been getting dominated to you did okay. And, like, that's not the range you want to be in. You know, at best, if you're doing okay, that's not the god you should be playing. I'm spending a lot of time on Isis because I'm sad. I'll still play her in ranked and kick your ass, though. Okay, Janice. Who would have thunk that Janice is still one of the best gods in the game? Who would have thunk Janice is still one of the best gods in the game? His clear is fine. Unstable Vortex still does an absurd amount of damage. His capability to move around the map is amazing. He is extremely safe. Variants of builds do very well with Janice. You can go Bancrofts and get away with it. You can go a little bit cooldown oriented, like a Chronos Pendant, and get away with it. You can just go Doom Orb and go with that risky build because you've got so many getaway skills to get away with. You still have the capability to snipe people across the map, get one-shots, change the game completely. You can steal objectives with it. Janice. I don't have to put too much into Janice, guys. It's Janice. Everybody that's ever played against a Janice has gone, this god is stupid. Like, for the history of ever. Jing Wei. Jing Wei recently saw some buffs that I believe have brought her into the top 5 ADCs. I think we're going to see her a lot this season. She got a lot of quality of life changes that really made her better. Her ultimate goes significantly faster than it used to. Her dash goes significantly faster than it used to. And her lane clear is even easier because I had mana reduction taken to it. I'm going to put her at A+ tier. I expect her to be one of your top ADCs this season. Very much to combos well with other gods. You know, you can pick a Wheelix with her, try to go that type of knockup. That knockup type stuff. You can have... she's great for countering Sobek in lane. If you're afraid about your ADC dying to Sobek, pick Jing Wei. You get plucked by her. Fly right on over, dude. You just fly right on in the air. You can use your dash in the air from a Sobek pluck. Very, very good. Very, very good. Kali. Kali. Kali is not great, okay? And I know that there's going to be just 80 comments, okay? There's going to be 80 comments of Kali is the most broken god in the game, okay? She has a full heal as a passive, okay? To which I say, you're right. Her passive is borked, okay? Her passive is borked. That's a crazy strong passive. But as a whole, okay, she is not the most broken god in the game right now. In fact, she's B+. Okay? Could she be picked? Yes. She could be picked. Does she have to be picked? Certainly not. Will she be picked a lot? Certainly not. If you build a comp around it, you can probably make it work. One composition that I'm interested to see is Aphrodite and Kali together. I wonder if anybody's going to be able to make that work because your early game is going to be terrible. But if you make it to a 25 minutes into a game and you have Aphrodite Kali, you just go, oh no. Oh no. And you just lose. So I want to see if anybody's got the kahunas to kind of pull off that composition. Could happen. And if they do run that composition, you'll be damn sure they've got a Khepri on their team, because what's more annoying than a Kali that has invulnerable to damage and then she's vulnerable to damage? Well, then she's resurrected, and that would be pretty annoying. Khepri is good right now, but not great. Khepri came out and he was the most broken like support release in forever, and then it was like boop, bada boop, bada boop, bada boop, bada boop, bada boop, bada boop, and they keep getting tap, and a 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 tap. But actually, he's in a good place right now. He's actually in a good spot right now. So congratulations, Khepri. You've actually finally found a spot where you don't have to be picked every game, but you're still viable to be picked. Very high skill-based god, honestly. I know people think skill-based god, Khepri, but to use him properly, giving your team your 2 so you can give them that damage reduction, knowing when to use it early game, and when to use it in a team fight. Being able to land your 1, the Khepri pluck, is not the easiest ability to hit. It's got a little bit of a weird delay. It's a fairly short range. Plus, if you use it, then that's your getaway skill. The root's easy. And then the ultimate is actually pretty underestimated in terms of how easy it is to use it, because it's not easy. It's not easy to use Khepri ultimate. Anybody can just throw Khepri ultimate at a target at 100% HP, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You have to wait until they're at like 10% HP and then throw it on them. Now, Khepri ultimate had like a 0.2 second cast time where you can start to do the animation but not put the effect on somebody, which is super frustrating, and I wish they would change that because it's really, really frustrating. But if you play him right, he can really change the tide. Kukulkan. Kukulkan is not great. He got I'm going to call it a bug fix, where his tornado will basically tick one more time. So grats, from 11 ticks to 12 when you're like, standing in it the entire time. But you're not really going to get to see him played. You may see a kind of setup comp run around him. You put Athena in the jungle. If you put Athena support, even Athena in the jungle actually be great. Put Athena jungle, and then you grab like new Geb for support, and you've just got so much CC and so much like pulling people in and then knock them up, and then Kukulkan can hit his ulti. Because if he can hit Kukulkan ult, it'll be nice. But other than that, Kumbhakarna is one of our better supports right now. He's going to be up here with Baki. Him and Bacchus and Guan Yu all kind of on this same level of support, right? They're all on this same level of support. They do a little bit different things. Bacchus, way better at aggressing. Kumba, better at peeling. Still good at aggression, but just not as good as Bacchus, inherently because of the knockup factor. But way better at peeling because he just has more CC abilities, period. You can mez instantly, try to get people off your team instead of having to belch, to wait for the stun. But he is a very strong god, very straightforward, brings tons of CC to the team. Easiest god to put in your lineup. If the first thing coming out of your mouth, if you got like team composition, you're like, wow, we don't have that much CC, just pick Kumba. And then all of a sudden you've got CC. Like you got a lot of CC. You know what I'm saying? Loki. As much as I would like to put Loki off the map, if I could rate him down here, I would. But no. Loki's in a B tier. I would rather have Loki on my team than a handful of gods. A handful. The one thing Loki has going for him is he can split push his brains out and get lots of towers at the end of a game. That's basically what he has going for him, is he can just split push. And after he's done split pushing, he can kill a squishy person if that squishy person comes to kill him instead of a tank. But yeah, no. Don't play Loki. Don't play Loki. He's so annoying to deal with. Don't play Loki. In competitive, you're just gonna get your ass kicked. Don't play Loki. Medusa. Medusa's fine. She has a new skin, which is amazing. Her new skin is like SS tier, dude. You can walk around playing the harp as you're moving. That's sick. That's pretty sick. But as far as clear goes, her clear is pretty good. Her team fight's pretty good. Her 1v1's not bad. But she's not nearly as strong as some of the other hunters in the meta right now. Mercury. So Mercury's pretty good. Mercury is doing fairly well right now. The meta's pretty okay for him. With the new item coming out, it will certainly affect a Mercury build. He's a god that would want to run it. The newest item, of course, being that cheap crit item, 2,000 gold for 15% crit, 30 power, and the passive, which is 20% slow on crit and 20% damage reduction on crit. So it'll be interesting to see where exactly he comes into play. But Mercury will definitely 100%, not a doubt in my mind, be getting played this season. I'm going to throw him in A tier for now. But I could see Mercury very well going up to A+ tier. You do have to build a little bit of a team composition around him. He needs frontline. So as long as you make sure you've got a warrior solo and a guardian support and both of them can kind of initiate, then Mercury's going to be able to go ahead and ulti through and do his damage and kind of pick people off. Neath. Neith is one of the best hunters right now. Welcome back, Neith. So for all of you Neith players out there, congratulations. You did it. You're back. Congrats. She also happens to be a very good mid right now. So if you pick Neith, you basically have the option of running her in the mid lane or as an ADC, which also gives you the option pretty standardly of picking up Soul and Neith. With those two, you then have an interchangeable composition. You can put the Neith mid or ADC, Soul, ADC mid, etc. Depending on what exactly you're going against that game. And so Neith's going to be in this A+ tier. She's going to by far be the most common god you see picked kind of with Soul for that flopping capability that they have. Nemesis. Nemesis is a real big threat in ranked right now. I mean, in ranked, she is just disgusting. Competitively, she's not as good as she is in ranked, but she's still very strong. She's still very strong. I would say that she's just a little bit less good in competitive than she is in ranked, but I expect to see her. Putting her in A+ tier, I think ranked-wise, she's probably S tier. But for competitive, she has a little bit harder time with the fight scenarios, with the CC that you can bring against her, canceling her shield, counter-building her with wing blades to make sure she can run out, make sure you can run away from her. But she will 100% be getting played in the SPL. There's no doubt. There is no doubt that she'll be getting played. No doubt. Nezha! We got a Nezha. Nezha had a part in the meta with like the red pot and stuff where he was broken. It was like you just ran Nezha Isis and then you couldn't fight anything for the first 5 minutes of the game, until their pots ran out because it was so broken. But right now he's fine. Nezha is in a good spot. His clear is good. He got his 2 changed again. That flaming spear skill, I think is what it's called. And it's actually pretty good. Depending on your playstyle, it's either better or worse for you. But for most people, I think it's probably going to be better. All you got to do is stay in combat, and then you can keep popping the heal over and over and over again with the 2. Compared to just you got it one time. But if you run out of combat, you lose your stacks. So give or take. Nox. Nox is still not good. She tries, Nox tries to be in the meta. I feel like there's something about Nox that people just like want to make her work a lot. They're like, Nox has got to work. Nox has just got, maybe if we just do this, then Nox is going to work. Because of that, I'm putting her in B+ tier. People are going... Somebody always tries to make Nox work. There's no doubt that at least once this season, we're going to have the Nox game. And it's going to be this is the strategy to make her work. We finally figured it out. And then you get into a competitive game, and you die. And you go, this was not the strategy to make Nox work. And I'm telling you, Stealth, I love you, but please don't play Nox. Please don't play Nox. Don't do it. I know you want to. I know in your heart of hearts you want to. You could play old Nox kit. Old Nox kit was broken, and nobody played her. And it was broken. And then new Nox kit came out, and it was not broken. Nuwa. In a strange turn of events, okay? In a strange turn of events, I don't know if this has been felt so much in the casual queue. It's been felt quite a bit in the rank queue, and it's been felt certainly in competitive. But Nuwa has come back kind of with a vengeance. She was out of the game for a while now in terms of strength. But she is performing excellently, pretty much across the board. It must be that beach skin dude. The more skin you see, the more skin you get. I don't know, but A+ tier for Nuwa. I expect it to be a very common mid pick. Like a very common mid pick. She's very safe when she gets her ulti. She brings a ton of damage to the board. She brings quite a bit of CC. She has the built-in root. Plus, of course, she has the stun capability with her 2-3. She is the best mid laner for helping you push down towers because she summons you backdoor protections and tanks. And yeah, but she has really kind of swooped in the last like 2-3 weeks. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, forgot about Nuwa. Odin. It's Odin. He's a panda. He eats, shoots, and lives. So Panda's fine right now. Good old Panda Odin is fine. You can still pick him for counter picks, where if we see Aphrodite's on the board before solo laners are picked, we might see Odin solo, we might see Odin jungle, we might see Odin support. I don't expect to see too much Odin as a not counter pick. Like, I wouldn't expect somebody to just kind of go Odin, but 4 out of 5 of the enemy team's gods don't have jumps. Odin game. They've got a Sylvanas on their team. Maybe Odin support. They've got an Aphrodite on their team. Maybe an Odin. After his passive was introduced to the game, everybody was like, Odin OP. They nerfed his passive back a little bit, and then he kind of was in a better spot. His passive is still nice. The problem is his passive works a lot better as a jungle solo than it does as a support. So that kind of turns me off from Odin a little bit as a support player. But for the most part, no, he's fine. Osiris! Osiris is annoying. So Osiris is a solo laner that I feel like doesn't get played as much as he probably could. He probably is the best, second best, maybe level 1 solo laner. His invades are super strong. I think we saw Envy invade maybe even twice with Osiris over their sets and relegations. His laning phase is very strong. He is one of the biggest solo lane bullies if he gets any wiggle room. Osiris with any wiggle room turns into the biggest bully, and it's so hard to deal with him. But he's going to be up in this A+ tier. He'll definitely be picked quite a bit in the solo. We're going to see the Bellona. We're going to see the Robin. We're going to see the Osiris. We're going to see the Vimana probably kind of over and over again. We're going to see the tier. Kind of the same picks that we've used to been seeing. I would expect Osiris to be picked more so in an invading situation type comp than a passive, comp. So, Poseidon. Poseidon is okay. He's okay, but he's actually not great. His clear is pretty good. Kraken's so easy to avoid because of the fact that you can just get Aegis at level 1. Ever since this season started, it's like, oh, you're going against Poseidon. No, I bought Aegis at level 1. So, Poseidon used to be able to just, you hit level 5, poof, you killed somebody. Poof, they dead. Nowadays, that's not the case because they just bought Aegis at level 1. So they ult you and you just go, Aegis. Kraken's just all around you. He can't touch you. Oh. He's down this B+ tier. I think he probably could be pulled out. Somebody could make him work. If Last was still playing, shout outs to Last. I bet Last would play Poseidon because Last was such a good Poseidon. But I just don't see him getting too much love from the mid laners right now. Too many other viable options. Speaking of mid laners that aren't that viable, let's talk about Ra. So, Ra saw a little bit of buffs to scaling. He got 10% more damage on the scaling of his Celestial Beam, and he got 10% more on his 2, I think. So he kind of got a little tap. They're trying to bring him back into the meta a little bit. His heal is good and it's nice. But he's still so easy to pick off. He has no getaway. You know, as a mid laner, it's very difficult. You know, the mid meta has been this 3-man meta where you have, starting at about the 3-minute mark, you've got support, jungle, and mid laners are always together, rotating with each other. So your 3v3 fight's got to be really strong, and you've got to be able to not get picked off and get caught out. And utility right now for mid laners is not as important as their damage. It's just not as important, which is why we see things like Janice being incredibly damaging up there. Nua's incredibly damaging. She's up there. We're going to have Ryzen up there, incredibly damaging. Soul up there, incredibly damaging. But just not his favorite meta. Probably a little bit better than he was for the last month, but that's about it. Alright, how about a mid god that's really good? So, have you heard of this god called Ryzen? Okay, so the good thing about Ryzen, okay, is that he's a utility-based god. He's not really meant to 100 to 0 somebody. You know, we made sure that in his kit he was a little bit away from that. You know, because he brings, he has the, Oh wait, I'm just kidding. Ryzen is mad strong. Okay? Ryzen's passive plus red buff and his one basically let him full clear the wave. Almost at level 1. He completely full clears at level 2. His dash has an immunity frame on it, which is something spectacular. So that in-between portion of when you dash and you're on your way to the location is pretty tiny, right? But it's not a CC immune frame. It's a immunity frame, period. So think Sobek in his pluck, and you may not know this, but when Sobek plucks, he has an immunity frame. The second he hits that pluck, you can't be hit for 0.2 of a second. It's an immunity frame. So it's kind of like that on Ryzen. So you can use that as an Aegis almost. Your ultimate does a ton of damage. You've got tons of clear. Your passive just gives you more damage because why not? Damage is great. And I think everybody knows that Ryzen has been pretty strong for quite a while. I feel like he'll get tapped down again at some point. To be fair, Janice is still a top god, so maybe he won't get tapped down. Rama is one of the top 2 ADCs right now in the game. Him and he are the best hunters in the game. And because of that, Rama is going to be up here in S tier. For your hunters, he is going to be basically one of your pinnacles of the hunters you should be running. He has recently gotten a little bit of a buff, so they took out Golden Bow, right? And then they were trying to tap on hunters that they thought maybe needed help with their early game. And so when they thought about hunters, they're like, well, who has a hard time clearing? And so obviously the first name that comes to mind is Rama, obviously, not Shibalanke, Rama. So they buffed his damage on his astral arrows by 5 at every rank, which at level 1 was a 50% increase in the damage that it provided. And they also doubled the slow duration. It's only 10% slow, but now it lasts 2 seconds instead of 1 second. So that little change, plus the fact that there's no more Golden Bow and he has one of the best ADC clears in the game. He also has one of the best end games in the game. He also has one of the best ultimate secures as far as hunters go in the game. He also has a steroid that gives him attack speed. Very, very strong. At no point in the game does he have a weakness. He's good early, mid, and he's good late. That's one of the best parts about him is his consistency throughout the entire game. Ratatasker. So Ratatasker has gotten nerfed, and then nerfed, and then nerfed, and then nerfed, and then finally he got nerfed. And somehow, and yet, my man Ratatasker has only moved down to A+ tier. How broken was this guy that he's only moved down to A+ tier after all of these nerfs? He's still so strong, okay? His 1 is a dash that's also a slow that you can basically get to 0 seconds on cooldown. His 2 is a pen shred that hits everybody around you, guaranteed. That lowers the cooldown on your 1. His 3 is a big burst damage ability that stuns. And his ultimate is a cross lane getaway / initiate that's a knock-up. And his passive allows you to buy your first item without backing. You can buy your Incon without backing. And then all of your abilities heal you. Also, you passively get a better version of boots that gives you 10 more power and 2% more movement speed. Because why not? That's also basically the same price. So, Ratataskar. By Ratataskar, I mean FAFNIR. He can defend middle lane. He can defend it. Trust me. Robin! Don't want to spend too much time on Robin. Robin is your solo laner, basically top 3, no questions. He's going to hit you hard. He's going to sustain hard. He's going to clear the wave very fast. He's going to be really annoying for the backline to deal with. He's going to dodge all of your big damage abilities on him so you can't use them all at once. You got the Poseidon Kraken so he dodges it and then you can hit him with something else. He's going to be an issue. He's going to rotate. He's going to punch you in the head. He's going to kick you in the head and then you're dead. Okay? Okay? Robin. Okay. So, Scylla. She actually was the only mage I feel like that was severely impacted by, I guess Isis was too. Isis was also severely impacted. She was severely impacted with the loss of Purple Pot. She was, I think most people agree, she was the best mid in the game with Purple Pot. She just did so much damage. She had so much clear, and she had no bad portion of the game. She had no weaknesses whatsoever. She had the getaway, the cripple. She still has all that stuff, but her early game has been pretty impacted. She's certainly getting played a lot less. Her showing has been fairly average in practice. Fairly average. Okay? She's right around A to A+ tier. I'm going to put her in A tier for now. But she is not as strong as a lot of the other mid gods right now. I would want a Nuwa on my team before I had a Scylla on my team right now. She's just not bringing the power where she needs to be right now. She's not bringing it. She's not bringing it in competitive right now. Not to say that she won't. When SPL starts and, one of the first games, somebody's going to pick Scylla and they're going to get an early first blood because their Thor walled off somebody, the Nemesis couldn't dash out, and then Scylla gets first blood, and then Scylla's going to get level 5 early. Because she got level 5 early, she killed the mid laner, she's ulted the Janus and killed him, and then now she's 2-0, and then she just snowballs out of control, and she's like 10-0, and everybody's like, that's the dumbest tier list ever, Scylla's the most broken god in the game, and I'm like, yeah, man, like, Scylla can snowball out of control, and then she's endgame Scylla earlier than endgame Scylla, but like, that's not happening for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So Surcat right now, not quite as strong in this exact moment as I think she will be as the patch hits. That patch will give her the new crit item. The new crit item is, like we talked about, 2,000 gold. And it gives you 30 power and 15% crit. And the 20% slow and the 20% damage reduction. With that item, I think she's going to find her spot back into the meta a little bit. I'm going to put her in A tier. She definitely should see some play for her anti-healing, for her mobility, for that new item coming into play, especially if that new item doesn't get nerfed, because as of right now, that new item's just coming in. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's coming in the way it is. So as far as we know, that's kind of where that's going. Scotty. Scotty is possibly what I would call, I'm going to call her the exception to the rule. The rule is that basically, if you don't have a getaway skill, right? If you don't have a getaway skill, you are basically not super in the meta right now. And she does not have a getaway skill. She's in between of Artemis and AMC, okay? So think about that, to where she has good clear, but she doesn't have the best clear, but she's doesn't have the getaway skill, but like she's actually kind of safe because you can make people slide when they try to attack you. But she's actually an A tier. She's actually pretty fine right now. Scotty can split push extremely effectively. You can do gold theories very early with her. Her 1v1 capability is almost unmatched because of body blocking with Kaldir. But she is very, very susceptible to ganks. Very, very susceptible to ganks. But she can, not more often than not, but more often than the other non-mobile ADCs, turn the battle in her favor, even by herself, because it's basically always a 2v1, right? So, good for Scotty. Sobek. Sobek is a good support that has very risky kind of tendencies. Obviously, the part of Sobek is you pluck in and you hope you pluck somebody. If you miss Sobek pluck, well then, get ducked on. You know what I'm saying? But he is a very strong god. He brings quite a bit of CC to the table. He brings quite a bit of damage to the table. Not the tankiest of these supports. I will say that you can find yourself blowing up a Sobek usually fairly easy. When he's in his ultimate, he gets pretty tanky. But you can definitely try to blow him up. I would not pick Sobek before I picked Kumba and Bacchus, so I'm throwing him down this A tier. Him and Khepri are kind of on the same level. Different things that they accomplish. Khepri more defensive, Sobek more aggressive, but they kind of function in that same role where they don't have the hardest initiations. Bacchus initiation is you flop in and you just destroy people. Kumba, Blinken, Mez for people. These, a lot harder initiations. Sobek is you just kind of pluck and you pluck a person, but when they pluck, chances are they're just going to beads because they should have beads up, so they're going to beads, and then you're in a bad spot. So he is good though. He's the most aggressive lane support. As long as you have somebody with you, an ADC that gets good lane control, they can't come up to the wave that easy because you just pluck them right back into it, and then they just do tons of damage to them. So they have to be so careful of that. Soul. Oh, Soul. Save my soul, because Soul's here. Every once in a while, I like to think of a world of Smite where maybe Soul doesn't exist. Maybe Soul's not here today. Maybe she got deleted out of the game. They accidentally, instead of putting in a Zeus, they just took out Soul. Where'd she go? We don't know. We accidentally deleted all of her game contents. I don't know, man. Where'd she go? That's not going to happen. But individually, she's probably A+ tier for her 2 roles. But because she can play 2 roles, I'm putting her in S tier. Having that capability of your opponents in the picking and ban phase not knowing where she's going is a very, very, very big part of her kit, right? So you can early pick Soul and you go, well, she's either mid or she's ADC, right? You know what role she's going to be in between the two, but you don't actually know where she's going until a later pick, which gives you a lot of leeway in terms of where you're going to put her. And also, because she's magic damage, if you run her ADC, can give you leeway to do other stuff. She works really well with Guan Yu support. Is a great combo. That sustain that they have is ridiculously disgusting. Her clear is good for both ADC and mid standards. She can fight early in the mid lane if she needs to against the enemy because of a strong damage her 2 does. She can poke in the ADC lane, very strong. And yeah, very, very strong. She's basically... Her and Neith are very similar. But she's slightly better in that regard of what she does. Neith fills a little bit of a different niche where she has the global presence. So it's just a little bit different than Sol. She's a little bit better throughout their individual lanes. Wukong. Wukong is quite good. He's not one of your best solo laners right now, but he is a strong solo laner. He's definitely going to be able to move his way around and get in the solo lane, especially when you see people doing, second round solo laner picks after you've gone through another round of bans. He's going to be fairly common to see here in the solo lane. He's going right there in the A tier. So, you pick your Robin for one team, and so the other team doesn't pick their solo laner yet, and so this team bans out blank and blank, and then it's like, well, not the best solo laners are out, but, Wukong is super safe, and so you can just pick Wukong. And we'll talk about Erlang, Shen, and Terra at the very end, because they're not pictured here on the list, so we'll just do them at the very end so you can visualize where they will be. Sozano. Finally got nerfed again, and actually, I'm putting him in A tier. He is good. He's good. I know he's annoying. Yes, he's annoying, okay? Nobody's arguing that he's annoying. But he took another hit to his nerf. He took another hit, and he's going to be fine, okay? Without Red Pot, he's not as strong as he used to be. His movement's annoying. His everything about his kit's annoying. You can combo him very well, right? His ultimate is very strong, okay? But by himself, he's very, very susceptible to ganks. His cooldown, just got hurt on the 3. So, post-patch, especially with the new item being added, he's not going crit. He has no benefit from the new item, and so he'll be right around there. He'll still be played a lot. He's very safe. You'll still see him getting banned just because of what he brings to the table in terms of just how annoying he is. He can bait people into a fight just because you're like, oh, Susano's low. Oh, he dashed away, but he's not as good as Ratatoskr, period. Ratatoskr is better than Susano. That's it. That's all there is to it. Ratatoskr is better. You know what I'm saying? Ratatoskr is a better guy. Quanger Banger, he'd be like in the kind of tweens. You know what I'm saying? In betweensies. He's more situational. All right. Sylvanas. Woo! Sylvanas is not getting played. He has no mobility issues. That's his problem. He has the I am getting attacked and I can't move because I am Sylvanas. Same kind of problem Ymir's running into right now, where you're like, hey, I want to go do stuff, and then you're like, well, shoot, I've got to get Blink because I'm Sylvanas, which is not good. I didn't want to have to get Blink, but I need it for my initiation. And then you're like, well, maybe I can try to... No, you can't try to do anything, okay? You're a tree, and everybody else has chainsaws. They all have chainsaws, and you're a tree, and you're running around the jungle trying not to get your ass chopped down. B tier. One of the worst supports, probably the worst support in the game right now, actually. Just... Terra is a better Sylvanas. Okay? Terra is a better Sylvanas. There you go. Thanatos. Thanatos. Thanatos does have his uses. He can still be used for his ultimate, you know, countering Khepri. But if you're going to use an ultimate to counter Khepri, you really ought to be playing Ao Kuang. It's going to do the same thing, and he's just a better god, you know? He's just a better god. So you have to be really wary of that. Unfortunately, he has one of the coolest skins in the game, but he's not going to be picked that often. He might be a swing pick here, B+ tier. He might be something that people kind of whip out to do something special. You know, they throw down the invade at level 1. They pick a Thanatos Osiris to go invade on the solo lane side. But for the most part, you're not going to see Thanatos in your games. You're just not going to see it competitively. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's not good. But he's better than Loki, am I right? Alright, Thor. Thor, my friend. Guess who is still in the meta? Because his name is Thor, and he's on posters, and he's got the hammer of the world champions. And so, if he becomes a bad god, then why is the hammer significant? So he's going to be good for the rest of forever, and that's okay. I've accepted this. He's going to be one of your best junglers, as always. Very much a safe jungler who brings lots of damage and does pretty much whatever he wants. And so we're throwing him in S tier. I expect Thor to be picked or banned pretty much every game, right? I mean, when you're really thinking about it, I mean, Thor is going to get picked up every game. You have Andister, became known because of Thor. You have Adapting, became known because of Thor. You have Gars, who became known because of Thor, right? All these players that came up here because of Thor, if you can still play Thor, you've got this. Now, you could argue for A+, to which I would say, sure. You could throw him down this A+ tier, same thing. I feel like you could move around these junglers as well. You can move around Ratataskar, put him up into S tier. You can move Susano. Let's do this. Let's move Susano up into A+. Let's move Rat up into S with Thor. This will be a little bit of a better representation to kind of show the strength of the junglers, right? So we moved Susano up from A to A+, moved up Ratataskar from A+ to S. Just kind of making sure that the strength of the junglers is really apparent in the list, because they are. They're very, very strong, more so than a lot of the other gods. And they're just very in the meta right now. The god pool for junglers is very large right now. If we look through here, we have Rat's a great jungler. Robin can jungle just fine. I think we might have seen him jungled in the relegations. Thor can jungle. Ao Kuang can jungle. You can Athena jungle if you want a Guardian in the jungle. You've got Nemesis is a great jungler. Susano is a great jungler. Even on the A tier, you've still got Mercury here, totally valid. We got Hunbat here, who's valid. We got FAFNIR. Junglers loving life right now, dude. They loving life. They're loving life. Okay? Alright, moving onwards. We got tier. We got tier. The tier list has come to tier. Shed a tier. Be a tier. The marble. Anyway. So, tier, as far as the solo laner goes, is good. He is not the best solo laner in the game, certainly. That's pushing more towards probably AMA right now in terms of just overall synergy with the team and what he's providing. But he is certainly a good god who has a lot of sustain, and he's very annoying, and he does have a presence in team fights, and he does have a presence in the laning phase. But he's down here in this A tier. I expect to see him picked after AMA, Robin, and Osiris are off the board in Bologna. Once those four are off the board, you're going to see kind of more tier picks. You're going to see more Wukong picks over in the solo lane. Those, even a Hercules pick, those kind of secondary level solo laners. Uller just got a buff, so he's one of the gods that will maybe be slightly in a different variant because we haven't really seen the newest form of him yet. His one got a bonus damage of 20 at every rank, which is significant, specifically at the early phases of the game. Instead of doing 70 damage, it does 90, plus your items, it's going to give or take 100 damage. He'll definitely be viable, especially when we see people like, Zapman playing Uller, who's really known for making that god kit work. But I'm a little bit weary to be putting him too high on the list. I'm going to throw him into A tier. I'm not super confident that he's going to be better than, say, Neith or Jingwei yet. But I do think that if that 20 extra damage does let him clear like a level earlier, that could be very significant. If it does let him, say, be pretty efficient in the mid lane, that could be significant. So there could be things that become of this Uller buff, but we haven't had, really insight into Uller yet from the latest patch coming out. Vamana. Good old Vamana. Always reliable. Always has good clear. He's going to show up in the mid game. He's got some abilities he wants to throw at you. He wants to slap you around a little bit. He wants to turn into a big baby, become CC immune, kind of throw you around a little bit, give you a little slap. He's got Kali in his back pocket anytime he needs to make a little call. You know what I'm saying? Calls on the seashell to see if she needs a little buff. But he'll be right here in A tier. I expect him to be same situation as Tier Wukong. Are the top 2-3 solo laners off the board, or is Robin picked and I want something kind of safe? Well, then I'll pick Vamana because, nothing's going to go. You're not going to just get destroyed with Vamana. Why? Because he's Vamana. You dash away. You ulti. You slow somebody. You're good. Vulcan is somebody who was not good in a lot of our previous tier lists. He had been out of the meta for a very long time. But with his new passive, he's certainly viable. Okay, he's certainly viable. They had buffed his passive, now it's 15% movement speed. And they had buffed his ultimate a little bit before that to make it fly faster. So he has a lot of good changes to him. And you can find combos that work with him. I'm throwing him in A tier. He's definitely going to be a god that's picked up for that mid lane, especially great combinations that come with him. You throw down the new Geb ultimate, 1.6 seconds. 2-3 of them don't have beads. You Vulcan ult the second, the half a second before the Geb ulties. Phew, Geb goes poof, boah, everybody dies, right? Plus he's good at stealing objectives and stuff. But he won't be the most popular mid. You're certainly not picking him when like Janice is on the table, right? You're like, I could play Vulcan, or I could just play Janice. Unstable Vortex. Oh, shwa, shwa, shwa. Shibalanke. Somewhere Allied is shedding a tear. Allied is shedding a tear because Shibalanke is trash. Shibalanke has absolutely no clear. His early game is awful. He's just not. I'm talking about it like he's D tier. He's not, but like he's not nearly as good as he used to be. And I think he had become so strong because of a lot of the changes just in the game had made for a little bit that he was just very in the meta. But he is almost exclusively useless right now. His ultimate's so strong for team fights. And so part of me says that he'll be pulled out just for his ultimate and nothing else. Which is why I'm going to put him in B+ and not B tier. If his ultimate wasn't as strong in a team fight as it is, I'd put him in B. But competitively, not being able to see for those couple of seconds can really throw you for a loop and really allow your team to initiate, but you're not going to be picking him on a regular basis. It's just not going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. Xing Tian is probably one of the gods that the community maybe thinks buffed the most, but that needs probably less buffs than most people think he does. So the big thing with Xing Tian, obviously for everybody, is the fact that his ultimate takes that long to go off, okay? And so that's a problem, okay? It takes a little bit, so that can be an issue. But as far as his actual kit goes, he does have the root back on his 2, which is really nice. His 1 is actually decent damage. It's not too shabby as far as clear goes. They have his jump is actually probably the most underrated part of his kit. His jump does a lot of damage at level 1. It's great for jungle clear, as well as it gives you protections. You do have the double jump, so you can kind of choose where you're going. And then his ultimate, if you can hit it, is a great beads burner. But for the most part, his ultimate's kind of useless. I don't think he's terrible, though. We've seen Panda Beyonde break him out at LAN against Soar, and they won the game, and then he did it again, and then they lost the game, if I recall correctly. It was a while back. But for the most part, you're not going to be picking him too much. I'm going to put him down this B+ tier, where he could be picked, and you may see him situationally, but he's not going to be picked that often. And I'm going to follow Xing Tian and Ares up kind of with Ymir. So we get another support buddy. Ymir is kind of got Sylvanas syndrome. If Sylvanas was just a little bit better. Yeah, Ymir's got good clear, right? Sherry's got good clear. But the problem is that he just gets ganked so easy. He gets ganked so easy. You rotate and you get just a little bit caught out, you get killed. And I know everybody's attached to Ymir because Ymir is higher. S tier Ymir every time. But B+. I think that Europe will probably pull him out. Europe likes Ymir. Europe likes Ares. They'll whip him out. But for the most part, it's not going to be your strongest god. He's got the support syndrome, right? Where you gank an AMC and all of a sudden you're dead because you just can't get away from the gank. You can get a heavenly agility. You can get stuff to help, though. Maybe if he becomes popular in the solo lane, I would change my mind. But as of right now, I'm not seeing anybody outside of just like, you know, casual rank queues taking basically a Ymir solo very seriously. So we're getting to the nitty gritty. We got Zeus, Zhong Kui, Erlang Shen, and Terra left. Zeus juice. So if it was a secondary Zeus kit Zeus, maybe he'd be pretty high up on this list because that was a pretty sweet kit, if I do say so myself. Pretty sweet. But it's not. It's regular Zeus kit. He's certainly not too far out of the meta in terms of getting picked. But he's also not right now a very popular pick. If I was mid, I'd play Zeus because I can only play Zeus. It's the only god in the game that I can play. So I know this because Reddit has told me, and Reddit can't tell a lie, much like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington's love child could not tell a lie. That was the part of the story a lot of people miss. It wasn't that just, you know, it was their child couldn't tell a lie. Not the point. Anyway. So, Zeus, still pretty good. Not great. I can only play Zeus. A, B+ tier. He's right around here. I'd probably want a Vulcan on my team right now before I'd want a Zeus. But I'd probably want a Zeus on my team before I want a Hebo. Fit down the line, do it. Got him. Got him. Got him. Okay. And finally, Zhong Kui. The love of my life, Zonger Donger, who is almost not getting played at all right now. He's just not getting played very much, but he's not bad. Honestly, he's not terrible. He's a lot tankier than people take him to be. He has the built-in heal. His ultimate is pretty annoying, but he doesn't necessarily bring the same kind of power that you're really wanting your mages to bring right now. I think that he's probably underrated. I would put him probably around this B plus A tier. It's kind of like Zeus. I think both of them. No, you get pressure. Zonkri, did I tell you could go? There you go. Sit on Isis's face. She'll like that. Right around that tier, where depending on kind of how the meta develops and what gods become more popular in other roles, perhaps he could see more popularity. But with the popularity of Nemesis right now, very hard time for Zhong Kui. You have to be careful that you don't pick them before they have their jungler, because Nemesis ultimate just absolutely destroys Zhong Kui. Always has, always will. So, our last two guys that we haven't talked about because they don't have pictures here is Erlang Shen and Terra. So let's talk about Erlang Shen first. Erlang Shen right now is a pretty mostly exclusively jungler. Everybody that I've seen play him in the solo lane has not liked him in the solo lane so much. They're definitely liking him as a jungle warrior who basically plays like an assassin. And he's pretty good. They saw a little bit of a nerf to him. He definitely needs more nerfs. Depending on how you level him has a big impact on how you play him. The one thing I will say about him is that his early game, if it's too tragic, he has a hard time coming back as easy as some of the other gods, but for the most part, you shouldn't be really getting behind. I would throw him up in S tier. He's going to be an incredibly strong god to be playing in the jungle. Very, very tanky. Brings a lot of initiation to the team, brings a lot of CC. If you use his combination of skills, you can lock somebody down for like 4 seconds. If you do your root, cripple, which is like 1.75, and then you follow that up with a knockup, which is like another 1 second knockup, and then you use your taunt, which is like another second taunt. So you can really, really CC change somebody, and that's why he's up in S tier. And finally, Terra. Who of course we don't have a picture for either, the newest goddess who got buffed in this upcoming patch. She has now her 2 will stun faster. So before it took 1.1 seconds, and now it takes 0.7, I want to say, has been the change. Something give or take around that. So that's very nice. They fixed some bugs with her too. And they also made it so her passive, when it's procced, you know how it has the slow on it, the heavy hammer slow. She now also will do a little bit of bonus damage, like it's like 8 plus 10% magical power, so very little, but at least something. Combined with her kit, combined with what she can do, I actually think she's going to be a fairly strong support, and you will 100% be seeing her in SPL, assuming she's playable in SPL. She is the newest god, but she will be A plus right now in this A plus range. She'll be a very strong support. She does have the best lane clear out of any support. I think this is an underrated part of her kit. She has the best lane clear out of any support. Her 1-3 combo will full clear the way for you. Your ADC almost doesn't have to do anything. Her ultimate is great for helping your team around the map. Her 1 is, just used to do other stuff. For the most part, you're not using her 1-2 combo almost at all. You're using her 2 to stun to get people from a range or peel with it, and then you're using your 3 to heal up your entire team. Okay? You use your 3 to heal up your entire team, and then you try to break it at the last second in order to get the root off and the damage off. For the most part, you want to keep it up for the sustain during your team fight, and then at a crucial point, use it for the root. But in your laning phase, you're just pretty much immediately using it to clear the wave, and it will immediately clear the wave. That's the end of our tier list, guys. If you're watching it on YouTube, please feel free to let me know what you think about it down in the comments, guys. Like I said before, this is a pretty exclusive competitive tier list is what I made this for, not for basically any other tiers. I do it for the highest possible tier that I can make it from, the gods that I expect people to be drafting, banning, etc. in top tier. Basically everything A and above I expect you to see fairly consistency every single SPL game. Those are the type of gods you're going to be seeing. B+ type of gods that you may see as a special pick coming out from teams, probably not more than one of them at a time on a team, and then if they're below that, it's pretty exclusively just not going to be getting played in the SPL. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and if you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, have a twitching day, y'all. It's the final countdown. Ba-da-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-boo. The final countdown.